TV, television reloaded.
Greatly to be praised. I lift you higher, higher and higher. Help me sing.
My God is great, greatly to be praised.
Yes, He's great.
I lift you higher, higher and higher.
Oh, lift Him up higher. You're so great.
Okay, thank you. It's Issues and Answers and on EBS television. I'm Josephine Eyimi here. On Issues and Answers, we discuss trendy issues and profiling solutions and how to get a better society on these issues. This morning, we were looking at achieving quality education for all in Nigeria, challenges and prospects. Is everyday thing is in the front burner that the quality of education these days is like declining, and one of the research said Nigeria has the highest of out of school children in the world, and it's not a good thing. Knowledge is light, and knowledge comes through education. If people are not educated, I wonder what the future will look like. The level of insecurity has contributed to the rate of out-of-school children. There are a lot of things going on. The abduction of students is like it's becoming a normal. So this one will be looking at it. How did we get to this level? What can be done so that we have a better society? And we have some guests who will be talking to us on this topic this morning: achieving quality education for all in Nigeria, challenges and prospects. We have Dr. Nusa Alade-Shehu. She is an educationist, retired director, educational planning, research statistics, Edo State Post-Primary Education Board. And she was one time a Commonwealth guest lecturer on Nigeria 50th years of education development, 2010 in the UK Parliament. Doctor, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And we have our regular guest with us, Kayode Aloede. Did I get that name correctly?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. He's a public relations consultant and a lecturer, Nigerian Institute of Journalism. You're welcome, sir.
Pleasure, Josephine.
Okay. All right. Let's get to the topic right now: achieving quality education for all in Nigeria. Before we get to that topic, ma'am, you are a doctor and you're into this the field of education. How do you see our educational system? What is the present level? Is it good? Should we leave it like this, or should we yearn for more?
The state of the Nigerian education is pitiable.
Wow.
And it calls for very serious concern. First, let me give what we might educate our thinking and meditation on this topic by letting us know exactly what should really constitute quality education. When we begin to see where it is lacking, then we know that there is problem, a very big problem somewhere. When we talk about quality education, we are talking about the quality involved in the system, in the planning, in the education, and in the learning outcomes. I mean, of what use is a child going to school and still cannot read? Of what use is a child holding a first degree or first class in computer science and cannot use computer-based examination to pass an interview. So it's a failure on its own. You don't need any soothsayer to tell you what has happened. There has been a problem in the system. We want to look at our educational system. I'm sorry that close to 11 years ago, when I was in the UK Parliament to discuss on the prospects and challenges of education in Nigeria for the golden anniversary of the Nigeria celebration by the Commonwealth, because Nigeria was 50 years in the Commonwealth then. Well, I had a number of issues I threw up, but that is not where we are now. It's even worse now than what it was at that particular time. And we are talking about the quality of teachers and the quality of students, the quality of the environment, the quality of funding, and the quality of the curriculum. By the time we are able to look at what kind of teachers do we have in our schools today, some of them, by the time you hear the English, the communication standard of some of them, you just imagine what kind of product these are going to bring out. This is not to be biased against those who are really very good in the system. I was the vice principal in Lydia College before I became the principal in Idobo and all that, and before I went to the Postgraduate Education Board. And I know that there are still some very good elements in the system, but I want to declare that there's still a big gap as to what is required and what is available. Now, in most of the schools, we don't have teachers. In most of the schools, all over the country, not just in Edo State. It's a long time that teachers were hired to manage schools. Many communities have had to do with just getting anybody on the street who wants to be a teacher to be a community teacher in a school. And the private schools have not even done any better, because there are many, under the three private schools all over the place that are just who are taking education as a business. Education ought not to be a business. It's a social service. It's one of the, I don't know, justiciable part of the Constitution, but it's something that the government should take very strong concern. That is why the government itself is trying to see that those who go into education through the private partnership, are doing it with the right standards. But where are the inspectors to maintain the standards?
We'll come to that, because you have so much to say on this. But let's get the views of Alwede. All right, she said something. There are a lot of problems in the country, but we find that every year more universities are coming up, both private and government. How do you see our state presently, educational state presently, from your point of view?
Well, it's a pleasure again, Josephine. Well, I think, like Doctor was saying, there's a lot of issues. When you just oppose what attains in our educational sector today against our pre or post-independence objectives, there is a strong deviation from what we have today as this what our colonial masters handed over. I believe that education should be transient. It's post-generational, always improving. But where we missed everything is like a structure that is collapsed. The educational institution is just part of a holistic body of a country that is caving in. Structures are collapsing. Shoika says, except by uprooting, no one can pluck yam tubers from the base. All of us were born into the system. We're privileged to attend schools, post-primary, university level. We passed through the same system. We were not very rich then, but we still have structures that you could guarantee somebody who were writing class 5, you could guarantee that you're going to write your exam. But suddenly, I don't know whether it is the military or whatever, the educational curriculum that we have today, as it were today, is very shaky. They destroyed our institutions. Like a government, like people. When Jonathan, the former Dr. Ebele Jonathan, was head of state as an intellectual, he was the first academic doctor that we had as head of state. We still had bottlenecks with, university teachers always striking. He was never able to regulate that issue. And I said in one of those interviews, if for the first time we have an intellectual, an academic doctor, he was a lecturer from College of Education, from where he transited to councillor, became governor, head of state. And at that time, most of the time, universities were closed down. I said, what then? Who then should be able to settle this? At that time, most of our institutions were destroyed. You could do a 4-year program, 12 years. People were frustrated. And that is what we inherited. Most youth today look at education like scam. They say, what do you benefit from a structure? So Jonathan battled with all those kind of things, and today it's not resolved. Then, transitionally, we had another head of state that had, I don't know, if you talk about the curriculum, the objectives of the Nigerian education today, this what they expect the Nigerian youth or children to benefit from is hazardous. There's dichotomy between what the North expects of their Islamic education and what those of us in the South expect to benefit from. They came up with the new administration coming up, there was, a shift in the paradigm.
Okay. All right.
And they were coming up with some structures of engrossing Islamic studies. They kind of make the whole thing look uninteresting. We are still battling between what is the actual objective of the Nigerian child, of the curriculum. What does the Nigerian child expect to benefit? Apart from the fact that when this political class came, they were the people that almost destroyed our public institutions. All of the senators, all of the MPs, they have their private schools that they built. So if you go to University of Benin today, or you go to Runigbe Grammar School, some of these old schools like Biaja Grammar School, they are like desolate villages. Enter Uniben, those days it was Unibest. It's almost like a commercial center. Every student is a trader. You see more shops than halls of, than lecture halls that could look like where people could study.
Wow.
The noise is so heavy. Everything has been commercialized. So you cannot, if you put the University of Benin, that is so adored, it's a pride of Benicity and the Federation, just oppose it against BIU, or just oppose it against Landmark University in Otta. You see that there's a big dichotomy. Or you go to Abraka now, it's almost like a motor park, like students like taxi drivers, like students like computer, So where are we going?
Okay. The way you just put this point is alarming, and I'm like, what's going on? Ma, you said something concerning funding, lack of teachers, going about the quality of education in our country. Apart from those things, what are other factors that are impeding the standard of education in our beloved country?
Well, let me take a rider from a point he made earlier on. Politicization of education.
Yeah.
And I don't know why people will bring in religious sentiments to educational curriculum. Not too long ago, I belonged to a Christian body. I belonged to CAN and the think tank body of Christ, where we had to raise our voices against an introduction into the school curriculum that they will strike religious studies out and put usually you have Islamic education for those who are in the Muslim faith, and the Christian education for those who are of the Christian faith. There was now going to be a harmonized religious study, whereby even the Christians are forced to confess on a Muslim faith. I mean, where does this happen? In one country, in a country that is secular. So these are the things that have made them the proper things in the curriculum that to look at, and to ensure that the children actually get the best that to make them self-reliant when they come out of an educational system. No, they are not looking at that. They are trying to infuse things of what they have in their mind to dominate the whole country with things that are not relevant. That is why the educational system, because those who are supposed to superintend the issues are bringing in unnecessary and irrelevant issues into the curriculum. And so that is why you will have this kind of problem. Then we have a poor governance, and we have corruption. Corruption in education.
Wow.
Corruption, academic corruption. Is it not in this day and age, a child can afford not to go to school and will still come out with the best of results? And how can that one produce anything in the public? How can that, and that is why the children are saying school is a scam. They say, who education help? That's the language among the youth today. Who education have, because even when you don't go to school, you can prosper.
Yeah.
You can do all sorts of things. You see young people under 30, in fact between 18 and 25, they are having cars, they are having even houses, and they say, okay, so in which case, being clever, you don't need to go to school to be clever. You don't need to be. I mean, when you say clever now, in parentheses, that's to get. They said school is a means to an end. When some of them are already getting to the end, and so
what's the use?
What's the use going to school to get a means to an end? And so you find that in a situation where nothing serious is happening, compromise is bound to occur. You find students. I give you a story of somebody who attended a private school. He attended a private school. He didn't go to secondary school. But because he could afford the fee for the private school, he was there. And do you know that by the time he had not spent up to 3 years learning anything he needed to learn, so that at least he can cover up for his deficiency of lack of secondary education. But by the time they now did the final examination, and they told him that you came out with a class. I said, third class? How, third class? After all I have paid?
After you paid.
Not what you learned, not what you portrayed, not what your own personal assessment of what you did academically. So you find the funding of education is such that we, for 61 years, we are 61 years as independent country by next month. Even already, with next month is just less than a week away. So we have not been able to meet the required standard, the UNESCO standard of funding of education. Funding for education is at least 25% of the budget.
That was my next question. Thank God you answered that.
Yes. So hardly will you find. Go and look at the budget for education this year. You find that it's among the least.
Very least.
Compared to what it takes the country to sustain the National Assembly, or what it takes to sustain the presidency. So if what it matters to the nation is this kind of caliber of experts, then and they leave the important things, developing the children for the future. Let me give you a story. A renowned professor in university, I don't want to mention the university, her major lamentation is that she grew up to be, she left university, and one of the first person to get a first class in microbiology, because if I mention university, some of you begin to mention her name. And her major regret is that the microscope that she used to earn that degree is still the only thing available in the lab.
Wow.
Tell me how education can improve. Now, not long ago, I needed a surgery for my cousin, who had some accidental injury in her ear and in his ear, and they need to do a surgery to correct it and all that. And I went to the Center of Excellence, look for somebody who can advise on that. I said, well, they will need a special microscope, and we don't have it to be able to undertake that surgery. And so we have had to spend millions to get somebody from the UK to come with that microscope to do the surgery. I mean, that is telling you that when you find people, the teachers are going on strike, the medical students, teachers, or what is it, doctors are going on strike. They are trying to drive home a point, and the government is not listening. Not long ago, we were here, and I was talking about insincerity of governance.
Yes, sir.
Insincerity of governance, and if according to what we say in the Bible, if God be God, let us serve Him. If this nation is worth our claim, then let us salvage this nation from its rubbles.
All right, thank you for that insight on what is going on in our society, Mr. Aluede. Recently, the Minister of Humanitarian Resources, Deribat Farouk, said more than billions, almost 200 billions are used for school feeding, and compared to what we have in the education concerning buying of laboratory equipment and others, but we see them buying kitchen utensils and a lot of things to feed these children. With this help in the quality of education feeding the children as against providing the necessary tools for the children to be trained.
That's another misadventure. It's a misplaced priority. I think the bottom line, like we've been trying to illustrate, like Doctor has been saying, foundationally there's a shift. When the foundation is destroyed, there's nothing anybody can do. There's a shift in direction, in focus. The people leading us, look at it, 25% of our GDP is given to education. Why? The quality of the people representing the country or leading the country is a reflection of what their interest will be. Our MPs, the presidency to the people in authority, if they ever went to good schools, if they ever had priority for developing structures, they will not allow education to be destroyed. Like leaders, like people. A situation where you have most MPs are still struggling whether they had a good primary six. There's an issue. Because if an MP cannot tell us his actual age, there's no way he can lead the people right. So it's a misadventure for the nation. Because if you look at deliberations, take time to look at our deliberations, I've looked at it that the content of the people leading us as a nation vis the educational experts or minister is almost empty. Most of the time it's easier for our MPs when they are sitting in plenary. Most of the things I see them do, if you are from Njoka, say aye. If you are not from Njoka, say nay. It's easier for them to say aye and nay because there's no content delivery. So most of their deliberation ends with aye, nay. So what do you expect? And the people know that they don't have anything to say. If you put it across Ghana here, Akufo-Addo, Ghana relatively, I keep saying that God will not come down to change the issues of Nigeria. Number one, we are struggling with Nigeria as an entity. If Nigeria be, if God be, because there are issues that we are just undermining. The entity Nigeria is shaking. People don't feel inclusive. A lot of reactions are coming up. People want to split. So how can you not build institutions when the center is not holding well? If you check out the number of revolutionary and insurgencies, because this government is not inclusive, people feel neglected. You're talking about education. There's nothing happening in the schools. They just put red roofs there. And all these people are using our money to build. The number of private institutions we have in the country now is almost going to, I don't know how many percentage. And how many people can afford? You are feeding the people. They are the marginaries. Nobody is being fed in Edo State. If you go to Biaja or Runigwe Grammar School, people are still out of school. They can't pay school fees. They are not fed at all. How can they be using the money that we are getting from resources to feed our marginaries, and they are not building institutions? Feeding the stomach. J.F. Kennedy said, a child that is miseducated is like a destiny lost. Are we now going to build this country on the shackles of Islamic, postulations? What are they thinking that our children will inherit tomorrow? Crisis. Because the political crisis in this country now, if it's not well contained, this is an endangered nation. Putting food over cognitive development, the highest number of children or human beings that are out of school in Nigeria is very. In Edo State, people are no longer in schools. Who school help? That's the popular slogan. Who education don't help? You hear all manner of things in the street because people have lost interest in the people leading them.
Okay, all right, thank you. Let me come back to you concerning the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs saying that billions have been spent in school feeding, and most of the times they don't have libraries. You don't even have good teachers. Will the feeding help at all to increase, give us good quality in our educational system?
We don't have to throw the baby with the bad water. So I will first of all have to look at the good ideas of the initiative before I tell you about the faults in the system.
Okay.
Now, usually when people sit on a round table to discuss quality, improving the quality of education, the environment comes to their mind. Let's improve the environment. It will attract children to come to school. Good. Really, there are many children who will rather sit at home than go to a ramshackle school. And so by the time the round table resolves that we should improve the school environment so that children will find a reason to leave their home and go to a better looking environment, that does help.
Okay.
We can't throw it away.
Okay.
It does help. that the environment becomes more beautiful and more
Serene.
attractive to the children. The roof, the leakage, the leaking roof has been amended. They have been amended, and the school is now looking at would rather leave his or her house school and say, this is, and then you see the muddy and dusty floor at home. This is a good place. I'll come to school. Now, that is one point. One of the things that bring children to school, and the round table on improving quality education is. Then again, they discuss what can we do. The children who come to school hardly have breakfast. They even did not have dinner before the next day, and I testify to that because I was a principal of a village school, and I know that many of my students did come to school with breakfast. And that was why I kept warning my teachers, please, how angry you are to try and discipline a child. Mind how you want to use your sledgehammer on the child because you want to drive discipline to that child. Because some of these children have not eaten for a day, for 24 hours. So you need to be careful. And I gave that warning because I knew that many of them, they come to school with just a child coming to school without even a school bag.
Or taking a bath.
Or taking a bath, or they just managed to come to school. The parent has been faithful to say, please, drop in this 5 naira. It will bring you back from school. And that's all the child is holding in his whole body. No textbook, no school bag, no nothing. And the child comes to school. I know that there are situations in life, in some homes, that providing a meal will also bring a child to school. We can't wish that away.
All right.
And I attended a summit where we reviewed the importance of these measures to improve the quality of education. And I heard a pathetic story of I'm a monitor. I'm an educational monitor, and a story of a monitor's report from Osun State, how a child will get an egg and slice the egg into 2 and keep half to take to other children at home from the school feeding. I mean, you can, and how children, even if they went hawking. Even if they went hawking wares for their family, as soon as it's around 10 o'clock, when it's time for the caterer to bring food to class, they rush in and squeeze in one uniform that they have not they've not washed until, so that they can be part of the sharing of the food while they go back to. I mean, that's to tell you that somehow, somewhere, this has an input in improving the attendance. Because when you talk about education, there's no one wrote a list to it. If you provide everything in school to learn, what quality have you provided?
Oh, wait, let's go to the defects school feeding program.
Yes, of course.
Let's hear, please.
Yes. The defense of the home feeding now is it is selective, because you think that the children in primary school or secondary 1 to 3 as is now, because that is the basic education class from primary 1 to SS3. And in some schools it does not even cover all the schools. It only covers some of the schools, and even in some of the schools, not all the children in this category are also SAT. And that's because they are trying to say, if for goodness sake, you say you have voted 500 billion to achieve this feat, then you must find a way that how it includes everybody. Because we find where a situation whereby the junior students are eating and then the senior students are doing long trotting like this. I wish I can even have half of that slice of food. So in which case, whatever is good for the goose is good for the gander. So I think that it should spread around. There are some of the parents that can afford food for their children, but I want to tell you that across the ages and across the class range of students in the school, we have poor children who need such assistance.
All right.
And then the issue of politics, the payment, the issue of politics going into the trade some of the people are also forced to align with maybe the government of the day, and by the time they fall out with the government of the day, some of them.
It's over.
So, but there are more. I'm sorry, as a monitor of the system, I have more of the benefits than the defects, because it has also assisted many women to get some economic empowerment of some sort, and it has spread to, you don't have to be in Benin City and be sending food to Ugo Grammar School. You must be available in that environment, and so that has also brought empowerment down to the grassroots.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. But we want everything to be balanced.
Yes.
In as much you are providing food for those children, let's provide the other facilities that will make our system be better. Okay, let me go to Ngozo Konjuela. Last time when he was a minister in Nigeria, he said most of Nigerian graduates are not employable. So you're a lecturer, and you bring out most of these graduates out, and somebody out there is telling us that most of our graduates are not employable. What's your take on that?
But well, you see, like Iwela Okonjo, she attended Oxford University and all that. Harvard University, right? And all that. She had all those privileges, and she had a sound mind. But if she says that in her capacity as an administrator, as a major stakeholder, she cannot be far from it. They are not employable, is very clear. The statement is holistic. Not employable because they are not good enough. Somebody said, "Is this all I scored after paying so much?" There's a deviation. Lecturers want to buy tires for their cars. Everybody has lost hope in the system. It's a rat race. Like students, like traders, like students, like hustlers. There's a complete shift. And parents, the way is because there's, you see, like I said, every average American, even let us look at the Ghana, for instance. I believe that the average Ghanaian would like to be like their president, Akufo-Addo, like leader, like people. Every average American would like to be like an American president because there's trust and confidence. We are building on distrust, and it's what is called religious dichotomy and all manner of insecurity. So they are not employable because their certificates are not good. I was in one of these banks one day. They gave one of these coppers who was looking robust. They gave the check. They normally give to them like 18,000. The bulk check. In her check, the figure 18 was not spelled. So the cashier at the counter was telling Copper Sean, write 18. She couldn't write 18.
For real.
But I'm not. This one is not scam. This is Echo Bank here by this place here. We were there. You know those bulk checks they write to distribute from their different things. She could corporation write this thing is not well special. So that
those who can write their name on the manifest
for
the transport.
Yeah. So it was a big embarrassment. And you know, normally in the mornings the queues can be heavy. The cashier still kept shouting, you know, like as a copper with the national outfit, you know, it can be sympathetic. Everybody can like to assist. This copper Sean lady, or I don't, that one should be above 30. There's already an error. Those days when we were in service, there's a age that, you know, these ones look like people, grandmothers, big and robust like this, with empty brains.
Come on now.
So, no, I'm sorry, but that's what we saw. So she was there holding everybody to ransom. Then, because people are hurrying, they have to push her aside. And so she was still with the check in front of the desk. So one small girl who wanted to pay school fees went to meet her, like assisting. Maybe she doesn't have a pen. Brought her the pen. And this lady didn't say one word. The woman was still shouting, "Bring your check, let me pay you." The small girl has to help to spell 18. I mean, that's just one of the many outcomes of not. What do you have? Parents are even partnering with their children for special centers and all that. It is, doctor said, education is supposed to be a social service. Most of these institutions are out there to make profit. Your doctor, your child that cannot read medicine, you pay and she reads medicine or he reads medicine. How will that child not forget scissors in somebody's tummy? If you go to most of our clinics and hospitals, they are recording more deaths for cases that won't have killed people. It's part of what Iwela Okonjo is saying, that these people are not employable. If you go to all these private schools where they are paying some people 7,000, 13,000, and they owe some for 6 months, they can't pay. Check out the quality of teachers. Go to Iworoba Ogigo Grammar School in Nego. They use higher lanes in the street. You stop in primary 2 or class 1, come and teach community teachers. Sabugidaura. The government is not just doing it, they're not employing anybody. It's scam. So the scam starts from the hollow chambers.
All right, thank you so much for your thoughts. Sir, Mark, concerning that most of our graduates are not employable. Is it true?
Very true. Very true. And I alluded to that fact earlier on to say that somebody can have a first class in computer science and still cannot boot a computer. Because all through the time, we never saw there were about 500 of them doing the course, and the number of computers available for practical was not there. And some of them are asked to go and learn in business centers to be able to pass the exam, and many don't go as soon as you can pay whatever. And I want to borrow from the point of the parenting, contributing to the fact that the products of our education system are not employable, and the parents are to blame. Now, a situation whereby parents themselves are spearheading corruption in the system. Parents that are supposed to curtail, supposed to bring their children to us, you don't do that. They are the ones, even without the children knowing anything, doctor the documents of the entry of a child, the birthday, the birth record of a child, so that the child can qualify to enter a particular class. Parents are also the ones who are in a hurry. My child he entered secondary school from primary 4, and so there's now a push from parents to send children from primary 4 to GS1, and to ensure that my child is moving fast. And that is why, by the time that you hurry a child, so that the child comes back to a society where there is not even a job available for your child, and you have hurried through the system. You gave automatic, and the system also has a problem talking about automatic promotion. You know that the UBE system now promotes automatic promotion. You don't need to repeat any class. As long as you enter a class, as soon as you enter the school, you are registered. You're on your way to SS3, to GS3. You must get there. It's when you get there we start to look at whether you have the educational worth to climb to the next part. If not, go for skill education, or go and get a business, go and set up a business and all that. But as long as you enter from age 6 and until you get up to age 15 or so, 15 or 14, well, sometimes they even achieve it by 12. When you are in GS3, we start to see, so that whether a child did well in primary 6 or not, you are duty bound to register that child for GS1 anyway. In those days, we used to sit for common entrance, used to qualify to enter a particular school and all that from a primary school, so that there is still a selection process, and children who don't pass have to go and repeat. There is no class, nobody repeats class these days. No, it's automatic promotion for everybody, which is an error in the system. It's a big error in the system. There's no need for you to force a child beyond his or her ability. You don't find any child repeating a class unless a parent so desires it.
Okay, all right. Let me go to this question. This idea of using phones to do assignments, most at a very tender age, these children, they are exposed to phones, and before you know, how do you see that? Because in the time past, they go to the library, they get books,
You are there.
they
You hit the
read,
nail.
and now they just go to say, give them smartphones for them to do their assignment
And Google.
and or just Google. Is this part of one of the ways to get quality education?
At all.
Okay, let's hear.
At all. Now, in our days, if you do understand a subject very well, you can form a learning cycle where you at least put in one person that always answers questions in class among those of them who don't. And you find out, please, I didn't understand what the teacher was saying. Then you may find out from among that reading class, reading a group, somebody that was understanding better. And when you have an assignment, even when I visit my children overseas and they are given, they say, go and write about your family history and do that. You try and consult your mother, please, mommy, actually, what happened to your family and all that. Now, today, if a child has an assignment, there's no problem. There's no, even if you were not in class, if you are even interested in answering the question, because you can afford not to send in your assignment, and you still get you still get your score or whatever at your price. So children are supposed to go and discover. Learning is discovery. Learning is getting information and improving on yourself and discussing with that improved status of understanding of issues. Today, you can't even ask a child write a composition or begin to think. I started my philosophizing from working here in EBS in those days of Radio Bende, and philosophy of life. I brought it into, you have to go, I take on different issues and take my mind. I take up a topic and time I cast to discuss, people also contribute. But now, children are not. They don't take 1 minute to think. What should be the correct answer to this question?
Phone directly.
Just Google an assignment, and you are likely to find somebody's answer in the UK, in Russia, in Japan, which may not be related to your issue at all. And that is how some children who try to copy in an examination hall, they copy the part. They brought the question paper somewhere. They copy all the answers and where they can get the questions. But the question asks for discussion. The copied part of the question and from the Google or whatever does not discuss the issue of the question. And this is when it becomes obvious that you have copied from and passed, and it's a zero. I'm saying, after what I wrote, what did you write? You went and copied somebody's work that does not discuss the local issues being inquired by the question. So how can you pass? How can you pass such an exam? So it's not helping, but it's not helping anyone. And although sometimes it's like I said, we don't have to throw the baby along with the bathwater. There are situations where it helps you to start to think. But when you get such materials, you are supposed to relate it to your local environment, to your immediate environment and understanding. You are supposed to understand what that thing is supposed to teach. Therefore, I'm not saying that don't Google any subject that you don't have any about. It can help you, but for you to submit verbatim, which is what we call what do we call it in journalism?
Like
plagiarism. So it's a lecturer that got his own degree through plagiarism.
We also produce students
we produce children who plagiarize and who might even not look at the marking scheme to know whether there is substance in what the child has produced, as long as that child has paid the required, you know what I mean. Yeah. So and he gets his high score. So why not throwing away all the import of using devices to improve our education, because education is universal, and there is, but children they jump the gun by just trying to copy anything from anywhere. The child must, the teachers should be able to educate the children on how to use the internet for their own benefit.
Okay.
And the libraries should also be there.
The library, really.
The library.
Because
schools don't have libraries. So, and I mean, if you don't have enough money to buy the textbooks for your subjects, for instance, you go to the library. Yeah. There's a copy of every textbook in the library.
Hard
copies, and you read. You know.
Thank you so much.
And today we also have electronic copies of the textbooks.
Yes.
So that is why we don't want to just throw it away.
Yeah.
Don't go and Google. You can Google for the a textbook, research and all that, and begin to have discuss a particular intent from different perspectives. And that is, you can only do that when you're able to research other provisions available.
Thank you so much. We're talking about library. Remember when we were in school then, you see students from other schools, you meet together in the library, maybe the state library or school library, you start reading a lot of textbook in your front, so you like, okay, you take this point from this author, this point, and your points will be so robust. I'm looking forward to having those days back again.
No, but even those days in those states, they used to have this Bender State library board that goes around. Yeah, but it was
and also mobile one.
We don't have so much time, sir. Right, let's talk about the benefits of quality education to any country.
The benefits are so obvious, it can be, like somebody said, I said, Jeff Kennedy said that any child that is mal-educated or miseducated is a destiny destroyed. And the bait of any nation is education. Education and education again. It's not politics, it's not corruption, it's not theft. That is why the whole country now is moving towards danger. Most of the experts and all of our senators and our stakeholders, they are sending their children to South Africa, they are sending their children to Ghana, to the US, to Canada, but they cannot leave this country hollow. Because that's the game. Because you know the Bible says surely there's an end. If you exhaust all of your family out, the country still remains as God lives. There are benefits. The only thing that can rescue any nation is education. So the earlier we start focusing on how to rebuild the broken walls, it's not entertainment. We are not entertaining people. There's a big shift and there's danger. All of these challenges that Nigeria has today is because mediocres are in power. Mediocre teachers are organizing exams. Proprietors didn't go to good school. The target of the schools they are opening is to make profit. And once your interest is to make profit, including private clinics, you will be killing people and destroying destinies.
All right. Okay, the benefits and what can the government do to improve on education system?
Good. One visible benefit we can talk about globally is that Nigerians who live this country outside, in the UK, in the US, are enjoying prime jobs because the quality of education is higher than theirs. The few of us who manage to faithfully abide by the system that was available, even by the curriculum. They said our curriculum is too wide, but over there so you find that the best doctors, the best neurosurgeons in America are Nigerians, and you also find out that some of them also entering their parliament. In which case, there is something in this system that also produces good products, and this has the whole world has taken benefit of that. But why is there brain drain? Because there's no proper adjustment for such brains to get what they require to make and to have a good living in the country. So I want to say that the benefits of quality education is that you have quality products. You have quality products, and you also have teachers who are ready to produce above them. Not a situation whereby teachers say, if I didn't have a first class, how do you think I ever get a first class out of me? It is possible for a non-first class teacher to produce a first class graduate. So that is the benefit of good quality environment. When the environment is conducive, like you find now, the system is trying to ensure that something attracts children to come to school in the Edo-based system. Edo-based system is bringing a technology that encourages children to desire learning. And so if when by the time you have this, you have something, a record you can track. What was the attendance before this system came on board? What is the attendance now? You can say that, of course, the improvement in the quality of methodology has increased the level of the number of learners in the school system. And so by the time you have more children getting to want an education and proper education, then it's going to provide a sufficient output to man other levels. Education is the basic. It's education that produces the doctors. It's education that produces the teachers and the principals and everyone, even the president and the governor. And by the time you have integrity being mainstreamed into the system, and it produces such persons that have a conscience and have a mind and as true citizenship, then this country will be the better for it.
So your advice to the government concerning our education system?
Yes, my advice to the government everywhere, from the local to the state to the national, is to improve on funding for education and to ensure that all the relics, all the attributes that make for quality education, they are serviced, not servicing one to the disadvantage of another. It takes more than one to make the whole quality of education to serve the children.
Thank you.
The environment and the number of teachers.
Your advice?
Well, the government should have to build the broken walls, because the walls are broken. The walls are broken, and we are running towards a shift that might be like a tragedy. Yes, it's a big tragedy that we are experiencing, tragedy of followership. When you have people with good intention following wrong people, They say when the head carries light, the whole body becomes enlightened. Let government cut down on these MP allowances, and it's like shadow driving. We have a problem. What they are taking home is enough to rebuild our system. If ICC, Immaculate Conception College, can be rebuilt because they gave it to some Catholic people to BHS, and the system will work.
All right, thank you for that. We've been looking at achieving quality education for all in Nigeria, challenges and prospects. And we have Dr. Nusa Aladesheru. She's an educationist, retired director, planning, research and statistics, post-primary education board, and she was a Commonwealth guest lecturer on Nigerian 50th years education development 2010 in the United Kingdom Parliament. Thank you for your robust thoughts for
Thank
this
you.
program. We
Thank
appreciate you, ma'am. And we have Kayode Aluede. He is a public relations consultant and a lecturer in the National Institute of Journalism. Once again,
It's a pleasure.
thank you
Thank
for
you,
your
Joseph.
thoughts.
Yeah.
All right, that's our show this morning on Issues and Answers. I'm Josephine Heimihe. Do have a blessed day ahead. Thank you.
EBS TV, television reloaded.